there is a quiet ache that lives beneath many spiritual questions. It sounds like this: if something is meant for me, will it find me? To why? Or perhaps more honestly, what if what I long for is not written for me at all? You may not say it aloud, but it lingers in the background of your prayers, your plans, your waiting. It appears when opportunities pass you by. It surfaces when someone else receives what you desired. It whispers when effort seems unanswered. And so the mind oscillates between hope and resignation. Part of you believes that life unfolds according to divine design. Another part fears being overlooked by that design. This inner tension is exhausting, because when you believe your destiny is external and predetermined, you are left scanning the horizon for signs. You watch for confirmation. You interpret delays as rejection. You wonder whether you are aligned enough, worthy enough, chosen enough. Your nervous system remains alert, waiting, measuring, comparing. But tonight, let us slow that internal motion. Notice the chair beneath you. Notice your breathing, steady without your supervision. Notice that in this moment, you are not behind. Before we speak of what is written, we must redefine what writing means. When Scripture speaks of your name being written, it does not describe a static script imposed from outside your consciousness. It speaks of identity known before performance, of essence recognized before action. To everything there is a season, it says. A season implies unfolding, not random accident. But seasons do not override soil. What grows in a field depends on what has been planted and tended. So here is the principle we must see clearly. What is written for you is experienced through alignment, not accident. This is not fatalism. It is coherence. Divine law is not arbitrary. It does not assign outcomes disconnected from identity. It expresses through identity. If something is written for you, it means it corresponds to who you are in truth. And who you are in truth must be inwardly embodied before it can be outwardly sustained. This is where many misunderstand destiny. They imagine a future event descending upon them irrespective of their inner state. A relationship arriving before emotional maturity. Abundance appearing before stewardship. Influence granted before integrity. But divine order is not spectacle. It is structure. You do not experience what is written merely because it exists in possibility. You experience what is written when your consciousness becomes congruent with it. Congruence is quiet. It feels like readiness. You do not strain to hold what arrives. You simply hold it. So the question shifts. Instead of asking, is it written for me? You begin asking, am I aligned with it? Not aligned through performance, aligned through identity. Imagine desiring a peaceful relationship. If peace is written for you, it does not mean conflict disappears instantly. It means your inner posture becomes stable enough to sustain peace. You receive a critical comment. You respond calmly instead of defensively. That is alignment. Imagine desiring financial stability. If provision is written for you, it does not mean money appears without wisdom. It means your thinking becomes measured and intentional. You receive income. You steward it without impulsive fear. That is alignment. These are small examples, almost ordinary. But destiny often unfolds through ordinary coherence. The world calls it coincidence. Divine law calls it correspondence. You have been conditioned to think that what is written is fixed and unreachable, that if it is yours, it will come regardless of your state. That waiting passively is a sign of faith. But faith is not passivity. Faith is fidelity to identity. When you remain faithful to the identity that corresponds with what you seek, you move toward it naturally, not anxiously, not aggressively, naturally. Consider how seasons shift. Spring does not beg winter to leave. It becomes warm enough for winter to recede. In the same way, when your inner climate changes, outer conditions respond. This is why comparison disturbs you. When you see someone else receive what you desired, and you assume it was written for them but not for you, your imagination turns against you. It begins to construct narratives of exclusion. But destiny is not distributed like a limited resource. It unfolds through resonance. If something resonates with your true identity, and you cultivate that identity faithfully, you will experience its expression, not because you demanded it, because you embodied it. So now let us go deeper into the single governing principle. You do not chase what is written for you. You align with it. Alignment is not external adjustment. It is internal integration. You align your thinking with truth. You align your reactions with stability. You align your imagination with dignity. And over time, your external life begins to mirror that integration. You may notice subtle shifts first. Conversations feel less strained. Opportunities feel less intimidating. Delays feel less threatening. You are not as easily destabilized. This is not the arrival of destiny. It is the preparation for it. When Christ said, "Seek first the kingdom," he was not offering a mystical shortcut. He was describing order. Seek alignment with divine identity first, and the additions follow. The additions do not precede the alignment. If you reverse this, you suffer. If you seek additions first, money, love, status, you attempt to build structure without foundation. It feels unstable because it is. But when you seek inner coherence first, the additions integrate without strain. This is why some experiences feel premature when they arrive. A relationship may begin before you are anchored. An opportunity may appear before you have steadied your thinking. Without alignment, what was written cannot remain. So instead of obsessing over timing, attend to identity. If what you desire were fully present in your life today, who would you need to be to sustain it peacefully? Not impressively, peacefully. Notice the word. Peacefully means without chronic anxiety, without constant fear of loss. If abundance were present, would you feel secure or suspicious? If love were present, would you feel settled or hypervigilant? Your answers reveal your alignment. This is not self-judgment. It is self-awareness. And awareness is grace. Because once you see where misalignment exists, you can gently correct it. You practice thinking from sufficiency instead of lack. You practice responding from steadiness instead of panic. You practice imagining yourself as capable of holding what you seek. These practices are not techniques to manipulate fate. They are preparations for resonance. Over time, you begin to sense something subtle. You are no longer desperate. The urgency fades. You still desire, but desire feels calm. You still envision, but vision feels grounded. This calmness is evidence of alignment. And alignment is the threshold. When something is written for you, it does not feel foreign when it arrives. It feels familiar. You recognize it. You do not grasp at it. You receive it. Because you have already become the one who lives there internally. So the statement, "If it is written for you, you will experience it," becomes less mystical and more lawful. You will experience what corresponds to your stabilized identity. If your identity remains fragmented, your experience will reflect fragmentation. If your identity becomes unified, your experience will reflect coherence. This is not punishment. It is structure, as within, so without, not occasionally, continuously. So release the fear of missing what is meant for you. Nothing that corresponds to your true, aligned identity can bypass you, and nothing misaligned can remain without causing tension. Trust the order of that, not blindly, but consciously. Continue refining your inner world. Continue unifying your thinking. Continue embodying the qualities that match what you seek. Let your imagination dwell on yourself as already integrated. Let your behavior reflect that integration. And let life respond in its time. There is no need to rush destiny. It is not ahead of you. It is emerging through you. So rest now. Feel the steadiness in your breathing. Notice that even without outer confirmation, you can inhabit inner alignment. This is your work, not chasing what is written, becoming congruent with it. And when congruence stabilizes, experience follows naturally, quietly, faithfully, without spectacle. If it is written for you, you will experience it. Not because fate selected you, but because you align with what was always true about you. Be still and continue becoming, and remain here, not in anticipation, but in quiet recognition. There is another layer to see, one that dissolves the last residue of fear around destiny. When you believe something is written for you as an external decree, you subtly remove responsibility from consciousness. You wait, you speculate, you wonder whether unseen forces will arrange events on your behalf. But when you understand that what is written unfolds through alignment, you reclaim participation, not control, participation. Participation means your inner state matters. Your reactions matter. Your assumptions matter. Your interpretations matter. Because they are not separate from destiny, they are the medium through which destiny expresses. Consider how often people say, if it's meant to be, it will be, and then remain internally divided. They desire intimacy, but rehearse betrayal. They desire stability, but rehearse instability. They desire influence, but rehearse inadequacy. This contradiction delays experience, not because the universe is withholding, but because identity is not yet coherent. Coherence is not dramatic, it is consistency. When your thoughts about yourself remain stable, even under mild pressure, you are nearing alignment. A plan shifts unexpectedly. You adjust without internal collapse. Someone misunderstands you. You clarify without defensiveness. These are not grand milestones. They are signs that your identity is no longer fragile. Fragility repels what it desires. Stability receives it. So instead of asking whether something is written for you, begin asking whether you are stable enough to live inside it without fear. This is not a challenge. It is an invitation. Divine law is merciful in this way. It does not deliver what would destabilize you beyond your capacity. It allows growth in proportion to integration. This is why delays are often misunderstood. A delay is not denial. It is development. Development of perception. Development of emotional regulation. Development of self-concept. You may look back at moments in your life where something you desperately wanted did not arrive when you expected. At the time, it felt like loss. Later, you realize you were not yet ready to inhabit it without distortion. This recognition is maturity, and maturity reframes destiny. You no longer see life as granting or withholding. You see it as reflecting and responding. So now, let this truth settle gently. Nothing aligned with your true identity can miss you, because alignment attracts resonance, and nothing misaligned can remain without creating internal dissonance, because dissonance demands correction. When you hold this understanding, comparison softens. You no longer interpret someone else's experience as proof of your exclusion. You recognize different identities are unfolding different resonances. Their timing is not commentary on yours. Your responsibility is alignment, not comparison. This quiets the mind. It removes the urgency to measure yourself against external milestones. You focus instead on coherence. You refine your inner climate. You become consistent in how you think about yourself and your future. And from this consistency, you begin to sense inevitability, not in an arrogant way, in a grounded way. If you are steadily embodying wisdom, wisdom will shape your path. If you are steadily embodying dignity, dignity will influence your relationships. If you are steadily embodying provision, provision will structure your decisions. This is inevitability rooted in law, not fantasy. And law does not rush. It operates steadily. So you can release the subtle anxiety that whispers, what if I miss it? You cannot miss what corresponds to who you are becoming. You can only delay it through fragmentation. And fragmentation is something you now see clearly. You see when your thinking contradicts your desire. You see when your reactions undermine your vision. You see when fear-based imagery creeps in. And seeing allows correction. Correction is gentle. You notice tension rising in a conversation. You pause instead of escalating. You notice scarcity thoughts beginning. You shift toward measured sufficiency. Each correction is alignment, strengthening. Each strengthening increases your capacity. Capacity prepares you for experience. So destiny becomes less mysterious. It becomes relational. It unfolds in proportion to who you are willing to be, not in performance, in identity. And identity, once stabilized, expresses outwardly without strain. At some point, what you once questioned will simply appear in your life, and it will not feel like magic. It will feel appropriate. You will recognize yourself in it, because you will have already been living from its corresponding identity internally. This recognition dissolves fear. It replaces speculation with steadiness. You stop asking, is it written? You begin affirming, I am becoming aligned. And alignment is something you can attend to every day, in how you think, in how you respond, in how you imagine your future. So let the breath deepen again. Feel the quiet confidence that comes from understanding structure rather than chasing signs. You are not subject to random distribution of blessing. You are participating in lawful expression. As you unify your inner world Your outer world reflects that unity. If it is written for you, you will experience it, not because fate chooses you, but because you become the version of yourself capable of holding it with peace. And peace is the evidence of readiness. Remain in that peace. Continue refining alignment. Let life unfold at its pace. You are not behind. You are becoming. And what corresponds to that becoming cannot bypass you. Be still and walk forward in coherence. And as you walk forward in this coherence, something else becomes clear. You begin to understand that what is written is not a single event waiting in the distance. It is a pattern of becoming that unfolds in layers. Destiny is rarely one moment. It is a continuity of identity expressed through time. If you think of what is written as one dramatic breakthrough, you will remain alert for spectacle. You will measure progress by intensity. You will wait for the unmistakable sign. But if you understand what is written as a steady unfolding of who you are in truth, you will recognize it in smaller movements. In the conversation that feels more honest than usual, in the decision that reflects courage you did not once possess, in the calm response where anxiety once dominated. These are not minor details. They are evidence that your identity is stabilizing, and stabilized identity is destiny in motion. So do not overlook the quiet shifts. Do not dismiss the internal victories. Every time you respond from alignment rather than fear, you are experiencing what is written in seed form. Seeds do not resemble the tree at first, but they contain its design. If you demand the tree before honoring the seed, you will misinterpret growth as absence. So honor the seed. Honor the days when you choose steadiness over reaction. Honor the moments when you think from dignity instead of deficiency. Honor the subtle restraint when old patterns try to reclaim you. These are sacred movements, not dramatic, but formative. Over time, the accumulation of these small alignments creates visible change. Relationships shift because your responses shift. Opportunities expand because your self-concept expands. Resources grow because your stewardship grows. And suddenly what once felt distant feels present, not because destiny descended upon you unexpectedly, but because you matured into it. This maturation removes envy. It removes desperation. It replaces them with trust. Trust not in vague optimism. Trust in Lord. You trust that coherence produces coherence. You trust that alignment produces resonance. You trust that identity shapes experience. This trust calms the nervous system. It reduces the need to control. It softens the impulse to rush. You no longer strain to accelerate what must unfold in sequence. You understand sequence. You respect it. This respect is wisdom, and wisdom feels patient. Patience does not mean passivity. It means stability under process. When you are stable under process, you are not threatened by gradual change. You see it as natural, just as the body grows cell by cell without your supervision. Your life reorganizes thought by thought, response by response. You do not command each cell. You create the conditions. In the same way, you do not force destiny. You create alignment, and alignment sets conditions for expression. So release any lingering fear that something might slip through your hands. What aligns with your integrated identity will not require chasing. It will feel reciprocal. It will meet you as you are ready to meet it. And if something leaves or fails to materialize, it does not mean you were denied what was written. It means it did not correspond to who you are becoming. This discernment brings peace. You stop clinging to outcomes that disturb your inner balance. You stop romanticizing what destabilizes you. You choose coherence over attachment. And in doing so, you refine your path. This refinement is subtle but powerful. You become less reactive to external fluctuation, less shaken by others' progress, less intimidated by uncertainty. Because you know your work is inward alignment, and that work is always available. Every morning, every interaction, every decision. You do not wait for destiny to begin. It is already unfolding through your present identity. So, as we near the quiet close of this transmission, return once more to your breath. Notice the steady rhythm that continues without effort. Notice how your body responds to calm interpretation. This calmness is not accidental. It is the fruit of understanding structure. You are not navigating chaos. You are participating in coherence. If it is written for you, you will experience it. because you are becoming the version of yourself through whom it can arrive peacefully, not forced, not rushed, peacefully. Let that word settle. Peace is not only the reward, it is the qualification. And peace grows where identity is unified. So remain unified. Remain attentive to your inner climate. Remain faithful to alignment. And let what corresponds to your becoming emerge naturally. There is no urgency. There is no competition. There is only coherence unfolding in its time. Be still now and continue becoming what is already written within you. And as you continue becoming, notice how the question itself begins to lose its sharpness. At first you asked, "Is it written for me?" Now, more quietly, you sense, "I am writing through alignment," not writing in the sense of forcing outcomes, writing in the sense of embodying what corresponds to divine design. There is a collaboration between grace and consciousness. Grace provides possibility. Consciousness provides alignment. When these meet, experience unfolds. This dissolves the old fear that life is happening to you without your participation. It also dissolves the illusion that you must strain to control every detail. You are neither passive nor omnipotent. You are responsive, and responsiveness is powerful. When you respond from wholeness, you reinforce wholeness. When you respond from fear, you reinforce fear. So destiny is not a single line on a distant horizon. It is the cumulative effect of countless responses shaped by identity. If your identity is anchored, your responses will reflect stability. If your identity is fragmented, your responses will reflect division. And life, in turn, reflects those responses. This is not mystical fatalism. It is relational coherence. So instead of searching for signs that something is written for you, begin observing the quality of your inner response to life as it unfolds. When something does not go as planned, do you interpret it as exclusion or as redirection? When something delays, do you imagine abandonment or development? These interpretations are not neutral. They either strengthen alignment or erode it. You do not need to pretend disappointment feels pleasant. You simply choose not to let disappointment rewrite your identity. That restraint is maturity. And maturity prepares you for experiences that require stability. There are blessings that require capacity. There are opportunities that require inner room. There are relationships that require emotional steadiness. When you cultivate that steadiness, you expand your capacity, and expanded capacity invites expression. So destiny feels less like something you wait for, and more like something you grow into. You no longer anxiously ask, "When will it happen?" You quietly ask, "Am I living in a way that reflects who I am becoming?" This question reorients attention. It pulls you out of comparison. It removes the need to track others' timelines. It brings you back to your own alignment. An alignment is something you can tend daily. In the way you think about yourself, in the way you interpret setbacks, in the way you imagine your future. When these align with dignity, stability, and trust, you begin to sense inevitability, not dramatic inevitability, but quiet certainty. The kind that does not need to announce itself. You stop rehearsing loss. You stop bracing for disappointment. You stop narrating yourself as overlooked. And in that stillness, opportunities feel less threatening. You are not startled by good news. You are prepared for it. This preparedness is subtle. It is the difference between clinging and receiving. When something arrives that corresponds to your identity, you do not clutch it in fear of losing it. You inhabit it naturally. You do not constantly check whether it will disappear. You live within it. This is the peace that confirms readiness. Peace does not accompany what destabilizes you. It accompanies what aligns with you. So as you move forward, allow peace to be your indicator. If an outcome produces chronic anxiety within you, pause and examine alignment. If an opportunity feels calm and congruent, consider that resonance may be present. This discernment is gentle. It does not require spiritual theatrics. It requires honesty. And honesty with yourself builds integrity. Integrity unifies identity. Unified identity expresses outwardly without strain. This is the quiet sequence. Nothing written for you needs to be chased in panic. Nothing aligned with your true identity will require you to fracture yourself to hold it. If something demands that you abandon coherence, it is not part of your integrated becoming. Release it without resentment. Trust the structure. The more you trust structure, the less you fear missing out. You understand that what is congruent cannot bypass you, and what bypasses you was never congruent. This realization settles the heart. It removes the subtle tension of competition. It softens the urge to hurry. It anchors you in steady growth. So let your breath deepen one more time. Feel the quiet confidence of lawful unfolding. You are not navigating randomness. You are participating in alignment. What is written is not imposed. It is expressed, and it expresses through who you are willing to become. So continue becoming. Continue aligning your thoughts with dignity. Continue aligning your responses with stability. Continue aligning your imagination with trust. And allow life to mirror that alignment. If it is written for you, you will experience it, because you are becoming the one through whom it can be experienced peacefully. Remain steady. Remain coherent. Remain faithful to identity. And let destiny unfold as the natural consequence of inner unity. Be still and walk forward without fear. And as you walk forward without fear, you may begin to notice something unexpected. The longing that once felt urgent begins to soften, not because the desire has disappeared, but because the tension around it has dissolved. There is a difference between desire rooted in anxiety and desire rooted in alignment. Anxious desire demands immediate reassurance. Aligned desire rests in steady expectancy. When you are aligned, you no longer grip the future tightly. You hold it open-handed. This open-handedness is not indifference. It is trust in structure. You understand that forcing an outcome before alignment matures would only create instability. So you allow yourself to grow at the pace of integration. And growth feels quieter than anticipation. It feels like refinement. You refine your reactions. You refine your interpretations. You refine your self-concept. Over time, you begin to recognize that the life you once imagined as written for you is not entirely unfamiliar. You have been rehearsing its inner qualities long before its outer appearance. You have been practicing steadiness before responsibility increased. You have been practicing generosity before abundance expanded. You have been practicing clarity before influence widened. These practices are not placeholders. They are preparation. And preparation is participation in destiny. You see, now that destiny is not something handed to you complete. It is something you grow capable of inhabiting. This understanding removes resentment toward timing. If something has not yet unfolded, you do not interpret it as rejection. You interpret it as continuation. Continuation of alignment. Continuation of refinement. Continuation of becoming. This interpretation preserves peace. Peace is not the absence of desire. It is the absence of panic. When panic fades, you think more clearly. You decide more wisely. You relate more authentically. And these changes subtly reorganize your external world. The opportunities that once intimidated you now feel proportionate. The relationships that once destabilized you now feel navigable, because you are not entering them from fragmentation. You are entering them from coherence. Coherence does not guarantee ease, but it guarantees integrity. You remain yourself. You do not fracture the fit, and this integrity ensures that what arrives in your life corresponds to who you truly are. There is profound relief in that. You are no longer striving to be chosen by circumstances. You are choosing alignment within yourself, and alignment is always accessible, even when outcomes are uncertain, even when timing feels slow, even when others appear ahead. You return to identity. You return to steadiness. You return to the quiet understanding that what aligns cannot be lost, and what is lost was never aligned. This is not a rigid belief. It is a structural awareness. It frees you from clinging. It frees you from despair. It places your attention where it belongs, on inner coherence. As you continue this work, you may notice that gratitude arises more naturally. Not forced gratitude, not rehearsed appreciation, but genuine recognition of growth. You notice how differently you respond now compared to months or years ago. You notice how your thoughts no longer spiral as quickly. You notice how your body relaxes more easily. These are not minor shifts. They are evidence that identity has stabilized. And stabilized identity is destiny unfolding in real time. So let the final layer settle. You do not need to monitor the horizon for what is written. You are living it in increments. Each aligned thought is a line written. Each steady response is a sentence formed. Each integrated decision is a chapter unfolding. This writing is not anxious. It is patient, and patience is strength under process. So breathe again. Feel the steadiness beneath your thoughts. Let the desire remain, but let the tension dissolve. Trust that nothing congruent with your becoming can escape you. Trust that nothing misaligned can remain without discomfort guiding you away. You are not excluded. You are evolving. And evolution, when guided by coherence, inevitably expresses in form. If it is written for you, you will experience it, because you are becoming the kind of consciousness through which it can manifest peacefully. Not rushed, not forced, peacefully. Remain in that peace. Continue aligning, continue refining, continue becoming, and let what is written unfold as the natural extension of who you are choosing to be. Be still now and walk forward in quiet certainty. And now, let this settle into silence, not as a promise to cling to, not as a formula to repeat, but as a steady knowing that has replaced the old urgency. You no longer need to scan the horizon for signs that something is written for you. You understand that what is written unfolds through who you are becoming. It unfolds through the steadiness you practice in ordinary moments, through the dignity you maintain when circumstances fluctuate, through the interpretations you choose when uncertainty appears. Destiny is not dramatic. It is lawful. It is the quiet correspondence between inner coherence and outer expression. So release the fear of missing what is yours. Nothing aligned with your true, integrated identity can pass you by, and nothing misaligned can remain without creating tension that guides you forward. Trust that structure. Trust that order. Trust that peace is not only the reward of destiny, but the evidence that you are prepared for it. If you feel calm in the presence of possibility, you are nearing alignment. If you feel steady in the midst of delay, you are growing capacity. If you feel whole without external confirmation, you are already living from what is written. This is not passivity. It is participation. You participate in destiny by refining identity. You participate in destiny by choosing coherence over reaction. You participate in destiny by remaining faithful to the version of yourself that can hold what you seek without fear. And as you remain faithful, life reorganizes in its time, quietly, naturally, without spectacle. So let your shoulders soften. Let your breath deepen. Let the longing that once felt heavy now feel light. You are not chasing what is written. You are aligning with it. And alignment is happening now, in this moment, in the way you think, in the way you respond, in the way you see yourself. Walk forward without anxiety. Walk forward without comparison. Walk forward without hurry. If it is written for you, you will experience it, because you are becoming ready for it, because you are becoming congruent with it, because you are living in harmony with the law through which it arrives. Be still and continue becoming what has always been yours in truth.